Where are the low value men? Like, what are all the low value men up to during these trying times? Because the high value men, I know they're around. They won't shut the fuck up. Low value men, I have not heard a word out of. I'm starting to think I'm on their side. I think I want one of those. I want a low value man. They don't make podcasts. I haven't seen one low value man make a podcast. Do they not know how to use microphones? Maybe that's a good thing. That's hot. All right, I've never seen a man use a microphone for good.
Until now, everybody buckle up. It's low value mail time with your host, Danny Polishchuk. What's up? Welcome back to all the scrotes out there. We got episode number 117 of Low Value Mail on this Monday, August 26th, 2024. That's what I meant. And joining us very shortly, we have John Gusty, co-author of the Redpill Revolution book, all about health and wellness from kind of like a holistic thing. I'm interested how you guys like this guest. I've been watching a lot of his podcasts. Pretty cool stuff. So I think you're going to like him. And we're going to bring him on. His work exposes essentially the medical industrial complex. And I'm very excited to have him on shortly. Before we start, please like the stream. Subscribe to the channel. 23% of you, if you're watching this live or if you're watching this after the fact, 23% of you watch this show. They are not subscribed to the channel. I don't know if it's because you're cowards. That's what I think. I think you're cowards. So please subscribe to the channel. You'll be doing me a favor. Also, if you'd like to support the show, you can do so. See all these people in the live chat? They have their little fancy star badges or their wrenches. I have to give Blankers a wrench. There we go. You're wondering why does everybody have a wrench? Because we do after shows, not all the time. We did one last week where we watch videos. They're for subscribers only. You can get access. You need the wrench so you can post links, and we watch links and videos and stuff. It's a fun time. It's just kind of a hang. But you can get access to that for as little as $1. Just hit the join button. I don't know if it lit up. They told me it was going to light up. You say, join the channel, and then the little join button flickers. I don't know. But if you like to do that, or you can go over to patreon.com/lowvaluemail, MAIL, and it's $5, but you get access to all the, if you're an audio listener, you get all the episodes ad-free. So, and there's many of you. Seems like a good deal. If you listen to this every week, it's like $1 a week or something. I don't know. Whatever. Also, this week, if you don't want to call in, because you're one of the people who don't subscribe, a coward, might I say, you can drop a super chat with a question for the guest. If it's a real question, looking at you, Drew, and Luke, both of you. So anyways, you can do that if you'd like. Help support the show. It's another way you can like to support the show. Otherwise, just watch and enjoy. Live your lives, you know. We're all going to be dead soon anyways. New episode of The Bathhouse tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Live from the Stand Comedy Club Green Room. That should be a fun episode. If you've never seen an episode of The Bathhouse, I don't know what you're doing. Don't know what you're doing with your lives. And then I have some live dates coming up. Baltimore, Maryland, October 10th, and Tampa, Side Splitters Comedy on October 20th. If you live, near either of those places, come out. Should be a fun time. You can go to dannycomedy.com for tickets. All right. I just got water in my hand. And then, you ever try to operate a trackpad with water on your hand? Doesn't really work. And now if I touch it, just all the screens go to shit. All right. I'm rambling. We're going to bring on our guest. Also, it's open lines next week. Should I do a show on Labor Day? Do you guys care about that? I was like, do I do a show? I'm going to be gone for most of September, though. So there's only 2 shows in September next week. So my plan was to do a show, but you guys don't care that much about Labor Day, do you? Like, you're gonna still watch a show on Labor Day, I assume. If not, then screw all of y'all. Okay, one moment, please. Let me just hit that unmute button. And almost there. Here we go. John Gusty, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, Danny?
I'm very
can't
well.
believe you're not more. Can't believe you're not more excited about the celebration, the nationwide celebration.
I'm Canadian. I love it here, though. Don't get me wrong. I love America. I don't like. I get Labor Day. Labor Day seems to be one of the ones that people care the least about, though. It's just like kind of the end of the summer. It's like the Monday night. Like, I feel like you do stuff on the weekend, but Monday night you're kind of back to just.
Yeah, I've always sensed that people aren't actually celebrating the invention of labor unions on that day. I think it's more about barbecues.
It's about barbecues, but the barbecues are during the day. Then you still got to go watch something at night. I don't know if football starts. Maybe I'm gonna have to be competing with Monday Night Football. I don't know. It's fine though. We'll have a good time. Welcome to the show, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I've been watching.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I've been watching a bunch of your podcasts with you and Dr. Jeremy Ayers, who the two of you run a website, naturallybetterforyou.com. Is it just the two of you?
Yeah, it's just the two of us.
Two of us, but several of you wrote a book called The Redpill Revolution. It's the two of you plus, I believe, 3 other people?
Correct.
Okay, and could you just tell people maybe a little about who you are and what the book's about?
Yeah, well, okay. So I have had a lifetime in the music industry. Started when I was 13, lied my way into a record store job at the same time making bands, and I kind of never left the music industry up until I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. I met my wife in the music industry, and we at the time she was walking with a cane and was diagnosed as having what they told her was multiple sclerosis at the time. And when we became a couple, actually met her more like 20 years ago, but when we became a couple, as most couples do, problems become joint problems. And I've always been a really healthy person. I've never spent any time in hospitals, and I've probably been to the doctor a small handful of times in my entire life. So I never really had any experience interfacing with the medical industrial complex. So when I took on when my wife's issues became my issues, and I started going to her doctor's appointments and stuff with her. I should sidebar, my wife has got many skills and talents, but she's not the best question asker. And it would horrify me as she would sit there and they would just give her prescriptions and she wouldn't ask why should I take this, or what is this going to do to me? So I kind of quickly appointed myself general contractor of her health, and just for nothing more than I could just ask the questions that she was kind of nervous to ask. And I'm a bit of let me backtrack just a little bit. In the music industry, I've done everything from working record stores to being a recording artist with record contracts. Later in life, I started working behind the scenes, and it was at that point that I got, just by default, I just got pretty proficient at recording and editing audio and video, graphic design, website creation, copywriting, stuff like that. Stuff that you would do in the entertainment industry. And so I got pretty good at the behind the scenes aspects of the entertainment industry, put it that way.
Okay.
So I was very familiar with marketing and scripts and narratives and marketing plans. And, if you want to achieve this goal, you got to set up the following steps in order to really, that was kind of my world. Most importantly, I really thought I had a pretty good grasp on ego. I've actually sat in the same room with Kanye West a couple of times. And so I understand, people like that. I understand ego, both healthy and unhealthy. And I was just floored. I think one of the first things I noticed right off the bat, interfacing with the medical industrial complex, was the ego. massive ego. I mean, I can't tell you the number of medical professionals that I've had just scoff at me for having the audacity to ask a question, or even worse, question some of the advice from on high that these people with white coats and letters after their names just put at people. And there's no other industry that I've ever noticed or picked up on that asking a question was felt like such a crime.
Sure.
So as I dug in further and started, researching some of this stuff for myself as best I could at the time, I just realized that there was the same marketing plans and deceit and narratives and just BS that's all over the entertainment industry was like even worse in the medical field. And it struck a nerve with me. One, it had to do with my wife, but two, I can understand it really came down to manipulating and manipulating and deceiving. So manipulation and deceit, there's a fine line between the two, but a lot of manipulation and deceit, I can swallow that to some extent if you're trying to get someone to win a Keith Urban signed guitar or something like that. But when you're manipulating and or deceiving people into making decisions about their health, their wellness, their body, that can be potentially harmful, in a lot of cases fatal, that's a whole other level of messed up.
Sure.
And so I quickly realized that I'm usually full of silly analogies, but I quickly realized that the medical industrial complex to health and wellness was like the fast food industry is to a good, healthy diet. It's there if you want it, but I don't think anyone looks to the fast food industry. Yeah, you could say they're in the food or the diet industry, but I don't think anyone looks to the fast food industry for health and wellness. I think it's I think we all know, at least we all should know at this point, that the fast food industry is it's not food, it's feed, and it's not nourishing, and if anything, it's probably going to hurt you. And so when I realized that the medical industrial complex was basically the fast food industry for health and wellness, you look for alternatives. And I'm in my life, I've been a bit of a beer aficionado, a coffee aficionado, and you don't find good beer at the local convenience store. I mean, you can find okay beer, but
maybe in Europe or something.
Beer is usually made in small batches by independent artisan people who are doing it for the love of the craft. And I started looking at health and wellness options in a very artisan way. If somebody, if you have a particular problem that you're trying to solve, it's usually people who are doing it, again, for the love of the craft, so to speak, that are going to have the best solutions and answers. And so when I started looking in that world, which was anything other than the allopathic, commercial, corporate, medical, industrial complex world, man, it was just like all of these answers and solutions just opened up. And a lot of times they were just right there, and they didn't involve the medical industrial complex usually has three tools. They're either going to burn you through radiation, they're going to cut you through surgery, or they're going to drug you through pharmaceuticals. And that's their answer to everything. You can go in with a sore thumb, and you're probably not going to get burned for that, and you're probably not going to get cut for that, but you're definitely going to get drugged. They're going to give you some sort of drug for your sore thumb. And maybe your sore thumb is a result of something that you don't need to burn, cut, or drug your body with. Maybe it's the way you're sitting or the way you're standing. Maybe it's a posture related thing. Maybe it's a stress related thing. Maybe you're a golfer and you're swinging the club the wrong way. There's a million different things that could cause that sore thumb. And to just immediately throw some drugs, some radiation, or some surgery at it, I realize I'm simplifying.
Well, it doesn't fix the cause, is what you're saying.
No.
It's just like, hey, we're gonna put a Band-Aid on this, essentially.
Exactly.
It's coming back.
Yeah. When you take your car to a mechanic, you don't, the long-term solution is not give you a rental car. You want your car fixed. And
Right.
and I think like a lot of people, there's another analogy, a lot of people with their health and wellness issues, they go to the medical industrial complex and they're basically given band-aids and rental cars. Their problems aren't fixed.
Sure. And so how did you approach this in regards to your wife, I guess, because obviously,
Well,
MS is pretty serious. So are you trying to look for other doctors, or are you just leaving the system entirely?
Well, it didn't take long before we just, I don't eat fast food. Neither does she. So we just stopped going to the fast food. You know what I'm saying? We just stopped dealing with them altogether. It was, and there were some pretty significant positive results when we got her off all medication, just no pharmaceuticals whatsoever. And started looking at the, during COVID, one of the positive things that came out of the COVID narrative that I noticed was it got people talking about the difference between the terrain theory and the germ theory. And I don't know if those are terms that are, familiar to everyone, but the germ theory is what Louis Pasteur proposed as a concept, and that's where the whole virus narrative comes from. And I think a lot of people would be surprised to find out that that viruses are still a concept. They're a theory, and I don't know anyone, and Jeremy and I for years have had this challenge out there, and I've got I can round up some assets. I can get video crews and stuff and medical equipment if needed, but I've had a challenge out there for a long time to anybody that wants to get on a microscope, and you name your type of microscope, whether it's dark field or whatever kind you want. I'd love to see someone show an audience of peers an actual virus, what they think is a virus, because it's been my experience that if you get 10 different people who claim to work in the field of virology all in the same room, they all have a different idea of what a virus is. And it's still a conceptual theory. It's not factually anything that's been proven. And the narrative of vaccination is completely reliant on viruses actually being a thing. If viruses aren't a thing, then the vaccination, which is also a theory, but which some people would be surprised to know that too, is that the vaccine narrative is dependent on the virus narrative to be true. And if the virus narrative falls short, then the vaccine narrative goes away. And I think just knowing that, you can kind of see the business interests, why the pharmaceutical industry would be so apt to push the virus narrative, because it is a great marketing tool. It's a boogeyman that can't be seen, measured, or apparently even shown on a microscope. Because again, I've known a lot of medical people who work in that industry who have the ability to do that if it could be done, and I have yet seen it done. And I'm not the only person out there that is making these claims or claiming that. I've never actually seen anyone who can prove that a virus that they claim is a virus exists. And then if we could get to that point, then they would have to prove that virus is capable of going from the natural environment, which I'm assuming would be a human body, out of a human body to another human body, remain alive, which is a whole other thing, because most people who talk viruses will say that viruses aren't alive at all, but remain active or pathogenic, and show that it went from body A into body B, remained active and pathogenic, and is doing damage in body B. I can guarantee you that's never been proven.
So, and again, back to your wife, but I imagine she was just like, normally if you have MS, you're prescribed some sort of cocktail of pharmaceutical, like something.
It's unbelievable the number of pharmaceuticals.
So what are you doing? Because obviously you're not doing that. So what's the approach then when you're faced with something like that?
It is my opinion that when my wife and I got together, she had been diagnosed a few years earlier. So there was like a 2-3 year period where she was just doing whatever she was told. and she had nobody, not me or anybody else, who was even slightly skeptical, telling her otherwise. So she had about 2-3 years of damage done to her just through the pharmaceuticals and other treatments, that intravenous antibiotics were one of the things that really damaged her. She had several rounds of intravenous antibiotics, and I love looking at words and taking the words I love etymology, and biotic means life. So antibiotic means anti-life. And she had bags and bags of anti-life poison run through her body with no probiotic. I mean, when you burn a house down, which is essentially what antibiotics are doing, you've got to build that house back up, or you're left with a burnt down house. And she wasn't given any probiotic treatment after the antibiotic treatment. And so it's my belief, and it's also the belief of others who are certainly much more intelligent than I am, that the crux of her issues were caused initially by the pharmaceutical and procedural damage done to her by the system.
And so is it a dietary thing? Like, is it, I'm just curious, like, how do you, like, what's the approach if you're, going to push away conventional medicine? Like, what exactly do you do at that point?
Well, I don't know that there's certainly not one, easy answer to that, because it depends on what the problem is.
Is a lot of testing, kind of seeing, does this work? Does this, like,
usually, MS is classified traditionally as a neurological disorder. And with neurological disorders, there are so many suspects. One of the big ones that comes to mind is radiation. And I mean, we are baking in radiation daily. I mean, we put, the room that I'm in right now has got wires in the walls, ceiling, and floors. So I'm basically in a radiation cage. I've got a light over there that's pointing, so there's radiation there. The screen, there's radiation coming off of a lot of stuff in our day-to-day lives. And some people live under power lines, or they've got a smart meter on the back side of the wall where their bed is. And I mean, there's all sorts. The stove in most kitchens shoots off tons of radiation. So we are being just saturated and baked in radiation daily. And that is that's not even taking into account all the waves and stuff, coming through for cell phones and communications and internet and all of that stuff. So, I mean, just again, baking in radiation.
Sure. But that seems pretty unavoidable unless you want to go move out into the woods, or which
is, what we did.
Sure.
so moved out, I mean, I didn't want to live in a, I didn't want to be in a highly populated area anyways, just for, obvious reasons. I mean, look at the last 4 years. I mean, that's the highly densely populated areas were the ones that were the most, oppressed and controlled. And, out in the more rural areas, it's a little harder to tell people what to do.
Sure. So what are some of the most, I guess, egregious things that you've learned about the kind of healthcare? Because, I up until 5 years ago lived in Canada, so I haven't really used healthcare much in this country, but I do know that it's markedly different. And I wonder, like, even in your experience, like, do you find a similar experience in your research from people in other countries? Like, is it similar across the board?
Well, you asked what the most egregious thing that I've learned, and honestly, the most egregious thing that I've learned, and I am endlessly fascinated by human behavior and how easy it is to get people programmed, conditioned, and manipulated into doing things. And I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what marketing and advertising is just manipulating people into doing whatever the objective is. But the most egregious thing I learned was, I think most people listening or watching to this, when they hear the term healthcare, they immediately think of that as this package of goodies or access to stuff that is given. We're given these goodies and this access by the all holy, corporate government apparatus. The most egregious thing that I've learned is that we think of healthcare as something that is managed or accessed by a third party. And healthcare is, we don't treat our, we don't treat anything, any other possession that, like if something's wrong with my computer care is me. You know what I mean? Like it's my responsibility to take care of my computer. Something's wrong with my car. It's on me. I have to initiate the upkeep and the maintenance on my car, the upkeep and the maintenance on my computer, the upkeep and the maintenance on anything that I own. Yet for some reason, en masse, humans, at least modern day humans, have been taught or conditioned to think of their healthcare as this thing that comes to them via a third party versus the most intimate, important responsibility we have as human beings is to take care of us. There's nothing more precious than your health, and it should be most precious to you because it's your health. So why would you want to offload the responsibility of your health to a third party? And by God, of all third parties to offload such a massive responsibility to you, why would you offload it to corporate government?
Sure. It seems it seems like we're kind of almost past that point though, because some people just really do, for the most part, I don't know what percentage of people actually take good care of themselves. It's probably low. So like, what can those people do besides like, I guess I'm just wondering, like, the average person probably will only do something once they have some sort of symptom. And then sometimes, you reach a point where someone has this kind of come to Jesus moment where they're like, oh, it's not too late, but I have to do something right now.
Well, I mean, you could start with the basics, depending upon who you want to argue with, we're 75 to 80% water. So it would stand to reason that since we're mostly made up of water, we should take water very, very seriously. And that's another thing. Water pours from the sky and springs from the ground, yet we as humans are the only species of life that I know, the only life form that I'm aware of that puts a freaking paywall between itself and water. You don't see birds doing it. You don't see, any other life form knows how to get their own water, yet water doesn't really seem to be a price. It's another thing. It's another basic aspect of life that we have been conditioned to offload that responsibility to a corporate third party. Most human beings can't even get their own water. They're relying upon governmental infrastructure to literally pipe nasty ass, toxic, shitty water into their homes. Instead of, one of the first things we should have been taught as young children is just how to get our water, how to grow our food, how to build our shelter. That's freaking animals teach your children.
And like, are you referring to like, you're obviously referring to different types of water, I guess, like different grades or whatever. Cause like, so I live in New York City. I assume you're saying go to like a spring and
again, if our current situation was set up in a human way instead of an inhuman way, water wouldn't be a commodity. Water is an essential thing. There's no getting around that.
Yeah.
And so, if you are in a metropolitan area where you can't dig a well, I was lucky enough, I dug a well. And so my water comes out of the ground. And then once it comes out of the ground, I choose to distill it to get all the crap out of it. And therefore I can consume and use water in its natural state, because we live in a distillation unit. Water starts off on the ground, goes up, condenses, and falls back down as rain. So we live in a distillation unit. Distilled water is water in its natural form. Sure. And it's also probably the cheapest and most effective, quote unquote, medicine you could run through your body or put on your body, because distilled water has a negative charge, a negative ionic charge to it. All of the toxins and undissolved inorganic solids that are in the human body have a positive charge to it. So when you drink distilled water, you're literally, it's like a shit magnet running through your body. Molecularly, it's attracting all of the garbage, and you're sweating and pissing and shitting it out.
Sure.
But no, starting with water would be a great place for anybody looking to be healthier to start.
Sure. And so, but you'd have to admit that that's probably for most people not feasible. So like, what do those people do? Well, just, I mean, like for me, I live in New York City where, like, do you propose that every time I need water, like I have to drive, like, I mean, I'm 3 hours from Saratoga Springs.
I mean, it gets into a matter of,
I'm just wondering, I'm just curious about like the actual mechanism of how this works.
Well, I mean,
a city person like
in
myself.
your case, if I were you, I would, the next time I was at a store, I would grab a couple gallons of distilled water. It's cheaper,
okay.
It's cheaper than the crappiest soda.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. So you're just saying, just drink distilled water.
Well, it would be a great place to start. I mean, at least start. I mean, I don't, again, and I know that some of this stuff can sound, arrogant. I do mean it with love in my heart, because I wasn't always looking at things the way that I look at it, today. I mean, 30 years ago, I wasn't thinking like this. I mean, but what could be more important than water?
Sure.
To a human being. I mean,
do you shower? Do you shower with distilled water?
I don't shower with distilled water, but I shower with water that is not coming directly out of the ground. It's running through a
filtration,
pretty badass filtration system.
Cool. All right, we're going to open the phone lines because I'm sure some people have some questions for you. So you seem to you obviously advocate for, in terms of medicine, a holistic approach. Do you have any sort of balance between, like, is it 100% holistic for any issue? Is there any sort of balance between, like, depending on what the problem is? Like, I imagine, like, if someone breaks their arm, you would just say,
well, I'm glad you made that distinction, because I think for mechanical issues, there is some value there in the medical industrial complex. I certainly don't know how to sew my arm back on if I accidentally cut it off, but there are people out there that have that skill set. And if you use the mechanic analogy, if my axle busted off or busted in half tonight, I don't have the equipment or the know-how. I don't know how to weld, but there's somebody out there that does and can fix my axle. But that person that fixed my axle probably doesn't know how to take care of my car fully. I mean, they may be an amazing welder and very experienced with axles, but do they know how to fully maintain a healthy running car,
right? Like, maybe they don't know how to use your AC unit or whatever.
Or could they, fuck with a carburetor or whatever. But if I needed a broken bone set or something mechanical, then I would absolutely turn to professionals that have that skill. But when it comes to health and wellness, and it comes to keeping me healthy, I'm not, I don't know of any setting where you, and this especially, I'm aiming this at the vertical of pharmaceuticals. There is no setting where you can take a man-made chemical and put it in a natural biotic setting and not have there be some harm done. I mean, you could, again, another analogy, walk by a fish tank, a real expensive saltwater fish tank that's got, hundreds of dollars of coral and plant life and beautiful fish. And there's a balance there. And that fish tank would be your body. And you could take something natural. I mean, sushi is natural. If you dumped a bunch of sushi into a fish tank, some of those fish and plants are going to die because that's not supposed to be there.
Sure, it disrupts the ecosystem.
So there isn't a medication. There's no way the human body can be deficient in a man-made substance, you know?
Sure.
I mean, it's a simple concept, but it's a deep one to wrap your head around. There's no way the human body can be deficient in a artificial man-made substance. There just isn't. And so any artificial man-made substance that people are putting in their body via pharmaceuticals, there's going to be some, for every action, there's a reaction. There's going to be some reaction. Now, some of those reactions might not be, apparent or even visible upon, first glance, but I mean, years and years and years. I should have grabbed it. It's actually downstairs, but here's a good example. Even with water, it would blow your mind. I actually save all of the stuff that I pull out of my water. And I've got mason jars that are, the big mason jars filled with just solid, it's just garbage that comes out of the water. And it's somewhere between stones and crystals. And because I don't have that inorganic stuff that's not supposed to be in my body, those are all the gallstones, bladder stones, kidney stones that I'm not going to have. And so even drinking, crappy water, but whether it's, bottled water is, you're better off drinking toilet water than bottled water.
Currently drinking toilet water.
But yeah. Well, you'd said earlier we're all going to die anyways. So.
Sure. Some sooner than others, apparently.
But yeah. Danny, he was a good guy. But anyways, but you can't, the body can't be deficient in something that is artificial. And so putting a bunch of medicines in you is no different than putting a bunch of Band-Aids on an open wound. At some point, you got to deal with that open wound. And Band-Aids are only going to cover it up so it looks prettier for you.
Sure. So you basically say water is the most important. I imagine diet would be next.
Yeah, and diet, and talking diet's almost as scary as talking religion, because everybody's an expert and everybody's got the answers and everybody knows the truth. But to be honest with you, it's diet is so tailored to the individual person because we are all at completely different stages of health, and so my diet, which works well for me, might really fuck you up.
Right.
If you followed my diet, you might be deficient in lots of things that you need, and vice versa. So I don't know. So diet needs to be taken. There isn't one diet religion that has all the answers. I mean, veganism isn't going to save you. Carnivore isn't going to save you. There's some very valuable aspects to parts of veganism. There's very, very valuable aspects to part of, the carnivore keto approach. That all of these things have bits of truth, but it really is, it's going to be different for every human being. And I think the only
what's the best way to know? Just try them out.
The only bit of diet advice that I could give anyone that applies to all of us would be, the next time you go to put something in your mouth, look at it, and is it in its natural state?
Basically just whole foods.
I mean, the next time you go to put an Oreo in your mouth, look at, and can you find an Oreo in nature?
Sure.
No, you can't. So an Oreo is, albeit delicious, it's 100% man-made. There's nothing in an Oreo that is going to do anything for you but harm you. It's empty carbs and crappy sugar. Not even healthy sugars. It's crappy sugar. And so that apply, if you start thinking about that every time you put something in your mouth, and if it's truly a priority, and your health and wellness is truly a priority, that's going to change what you put in your mouth. And another universal truth that I have found that applies to all of us as far as diet goes is your body knows exactly what it needs and what it doesn't. And I think a lot of us have just gotten so toxic, like the bodies are so toxic that it's hard to hear your body telling you that it likes something or doesn't like something. I mean, my body's been pretty clean for years, and so if I was to eat an Oreo right now, I would know within, oh God, within
Like
the first
you'd
bite,
feel
I could
it.
tell
Like
you.
it's
I'd feel
disruptive
it.
at this
I'd
point.
absolutely feel it. But somebody who pounds Oreos every day isn't going to feel that. They're going to be like,
Sure.
"Oh, what you
It's
talking
like
about?
similar to drugs. You just build the tolerance,
Exactly. You just
essentially.
you build up although it's not just in the case of drugs, it would be tolerance, but in the case of food, it's just the toxicity is so gets to be so much that you're not feeling that's the sting of that Oreo because probably that person's gut health is so out of whack. And just they could probably eat a shoe and have the same result. They wouldn't feel that either because their body's just needs to be cleansed. And then the only way that you can cleanse a body fully is through fasting.
Okay, that's actually a good segue. So you guys are promote what kind of fasts do you promote generally? Because I do fasting from time to time.
It's again that's gonna be different for every
Do you do
human.
really long ones though?
I have when in fact I just did one that was probably close to a 5-day one just because I needed to. I was dealing with something and I just needed to reset.
Sure.
Think of fasting as a body reset. You kind of get a do-over. And so I needed to do it for just for practical reasons. But in my opinion, the healthiest way for anyone to incorporate fasting would be to eat when you're hungry. This whole eating 3 times a day stuff that was a marketing campaign, and the only people that profit from that are the people that are selling you the feed that people are cramming down their pie holes. But we eat way too much. I might eat one good meal a day. Sometimes I don't even eat that one good meal a day. Sometimes I don't eat at all. So my body tells me when it needs something, and I feed it when it's hungry. Now, it took a while to get me to that point. I wasn't that way when I was 10 years old. When I was 10 years old, I was eating whatever my parents put in front of me.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't think that there is one fasting answer. I think fasting, like anything health related, is going to be different for every single body because every body's in a different level of toxicity, different level of health.
Yeah, and it's obviously you probably don't start with a 5-day fast if you're trying to get into it.
No, but there are. I'll tell you, I've known and seen and watched with my own eyes some people who are in some pretty bad shape. In fact, a dear neighbor of mine just lives down the street. Was hurt himself. He's a hardworking contractor guy. He hurt himself through him listening. Innocent. He was innocent. He didn't know. He just took the drugs his doctor gave him. He was all messed up on painkillers and stuff, and he just did a about a 30-day fast, and he was in bad shape. But you've got to get everything out of you, and it takes a while. And it's easier than you think. I think
was he a big guy? Like, was he overweight?
What's that?
Was he pretty overweight?
No, he just he just had a lot of pharmaceuticals in him, and it was messing him up. And a lot of painkillers will cause constipation. And, I think people who have used painkillers know it's not unusual to go a week without having a bowel movement. And I mean, dude, that's messed up. If you're going that long in between, that's just your body literally getting rid of the shit it doesn't need. If it's taken a week in between those type of things, stuff's messed up. And that toxic stuff is sitting inside your intestines way longer than it should be. So yeah, so fasting is a good way to just kind of get a good reset and a good do-over. And you can go, 30 days is, I know it sounds like insanity to a lot of people, but it's more common than you think.
Yeah, I did 3 days. I mean, usually the first day is tough, and then it becomes a lot easier. I do find, but eventually you're like, do you get sluggish, or do you get kind of used to it?
I'll tell you, the reason why I told you the reason why I just did mine was because I was feeling sluggish. I had shifted up my schedule a bit, and I don't do I don't do hot coffee. I do cold brew coffee because of the acidity. Hot coffee is very, very acidic, and cold brew coffee is not acidic. And so I was kind of using coffee as a stimulant, and I was working long hours and not sleeping as much as I should have, and I kind of got myself into where I was. The energy level was not what I wanted it to be, so I kind of had to reset it, and I did that through fasting and kind of an intestinal cleanse too, because I know from time to time it's like anything else. You've got to vacuum your carpet sometime. You got to wash your car sometimes. You got to clean things, and I don't think that most people out there, especially those who are offloading the responsibility of their health and wellness to a corporate third party, I don't think they're thinking about doing cleanses and cleaning their body out, because
Sure.
that sounds like some weird new agey hippie thing that
And it's difficult, right? Like, it's easier to just go to the doctor whenever something comes up versus having to, not eat for 3 days. And, you might have a labor intensive job or something. And it's just more difficult for the average person.
If you again, this is easier said than done for lots of people, but if you can start paying attention to your water, start paying attention to, like I said, the food that you eat, don't eat feed. I mean, Doritos are feed.
Basically just all unprocessed whole foods, essentially.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because what does processing mean in as far as food goes? It means it's being manipulated and changed, or created in some cases. I mean, obviously an Oreo is processed because there's nothing natural there. It's all manipulated and created.
Now, would you still consider someone who's like, this is weird just because I sometimes see this guy on my Instagram. He's like a raw vegan and he makes all these raw vegan concoctions. Would you count that as processed food or no? Because it's still raw and vegan.
No, I mean, if it's raw, I mean,
sure.
But the only thing I would ask there is, see, with a lot of there's definitely some merit to the whole raw approach, because when you heat something up, you're killing it biologically. When you heat, here's a delicious thought. Pasteurization. Our buddy Louis Pasteur, thanks, bud. The process of pasteurization is heating the whatever it is, milk, juice, whatever, up to kill off all the biological life in it, so that it has a longer shelf life,
right?
Which is a commercial move. When you pasteurize milk, cow's milk, you've basically killed all the good stuff, and you're left with pus and mucus. So enjoy that pus and mucus. Enjoy that tall glass of pus and mucus. It's not doing anything for you. It's just now you're just putting that dead pus and mucus in your stomach, and that's a big ass chore for your stomach to process, because we're not supposed to be drinking. We're humans. We don't drink cow's milk, so we're dumping cow mucus and cow pus into a human stomach, and this human stomach, workers down there are going, what the fuck are you doing to me, man? And so if you're gonna do raw, do good raw. Raw dairy is actually very good for you, because you're getting all of the natural stuff. Raw meat. If I was doing raw meat, I'd want to know where my meat is coming from, because at least here in the States, and I'm pretty sure it's up there, same in Canada, because Castro's favorite son is certainly not gonna not miss.
Well, raw milk stuff is all banned in Canada. Yeah. Raw milk, cheese, and
just think about that. Think about the audacity. There are actually humans out there that feel that they have the authority to tell other humans what they can and can't eat or drink naturally. Like raw milk. You know why raw milk is illegal? Is because if everybody was getting raw milk, no one would once you tried raw milk, especially for health reasons, you're never going back to that dead pus and mucus. It's gross at that point.
Yeah.
And so and raw stuff tends to be very healing because that's what we would naturally be eating. And drinking. We would naturally, if humans were just being humans without all of this corporate commercial manipulation, we would be eating more. We would certainly be eating naturally, way more naturally than we're eating today. And so, raw. If you're going to eat raw meat, and lots of people do, I've got a lot of friends that eat raw meat. Just know where that meat came from. I mean, I wouldn't
Raw chicken.
Yeah, raw anything. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, I haven't purchased retail meat in well over 10 years. Especially these days, because now they're openly telling you that they're jabbing the meat, I mean, they couldn't get for the people who resisted the MAGA jabs and the Brandon boosters the first time, it doesn't matter because they're jabbing the cows and to some extent, I think a lot of the chickens now, the commercial chickens and the commercial cows are all been vaccinated.
Yeah. We're gonna take a call in a second. I just have one quick, because you're talking about you had some sleep issues. How do you guys treat sleep in this whole kind of holistic approach?
So, well, that gets into another topic that is probably right underwater as far as like passions for me, and that's light. And I can tell you from my personal experience and the personal experience of watching my family and friends and close associates. Are you familiar with the term the circadian rhythm?
Of course.
Up with the sun, down with the sun.
I have the worst. I'm a comedian, so I have absolutely the worst.
My
circadian rhythms way off for the last 15 years.
I'm a stand-up aficionado, by the way. We need to talk offline.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Love to pick your brain, but yeah. I mean, the what's taking place above us with the sun and the moon and those cycles. I mean, whether humans can take it seriously or they can laugh at it, but those cycles are what all life is keying off of, and so those lunar cycles and those solar cycles, that's everything that's alive is keying off of that when the day is starting. At least in mammals, when the sun is right above us. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but the sun changes color throughout the day. In the morning, it's more of almost like a bright, it's like a white yellow, and then as it gets higher and over us, the more blue spectrum comes in, and then when it sets, it's got more red.
Sure.
Red to it. And so the light spectrum is really, I mean, it's really amazing if you look into that as a topic, because again, that's what all life is keying off of. And that blue light that happens around midday, that is what's kicking the human body and most mammals. That's what's kicking on the melatonin production to start the body to wind down for the evening. And it's hard, you talk about things being hard, and I mean, man, you're a perfect case study, because your profession, the stand-up, I don't imagine a lot of stand-up comedy goes on during the daytime. It's all nighttime hours, and so you'd have to be really, really conscious of not exposing yourself to as the amount of blue light. I mean, a lot of people, after the sun goes down, they're baking in blue light. I mean, blue light is all fluorescent lights are blue. All computer screens or phone screens, it's all blue light.
I know there even is a setting on it now where I guess you can on an iPhone is like you can make it not.
And you'll notice it goes to a more of a reddish hue when you do that.
Right.
And that's the sun going down, and so it's if it's 12 midnight and you're sitting up on your laptop watching YouTube, that might be what you're doing, but your brain and your body is registering that it's high noon, and you're going to have a hard time falling asleep. And so just like the majority of headaches are actually caused by dehydration. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people will complain about headaches and they're just dehydrated.
A lot of hunger as well too. Like a lot of times people are like, I'm hungry, and you're like, you're just dehydrated.
Yeah. most sleep issues are just light related. If you can start sleeping in complete darkness, and get into a regular habit. I mean, even someone like yourself, which, you can't have a set nighttime schedule because of your profession, but when you do go to bed, if you sleep in complete darkness,
well, one of the best purchases I've ever made is I heard this guy Peter Attia on a podcast, and he was like, the best purchase he's ever made under $10 was this. It's called a polar bear sleep mask. It's just a sleep mask, but it's and I bought it, and I probably bought it 5 years ago, and I bought it. I go, I cannot believe that I have been living my whole life without this thing.
Yeah. And that definitely addresses the issues of your eyes, but our skin is, it's photoreceptor. So there can be a little red diode on your TV, and it could be pitch dark except for that little red diode, and the skin's still picking up those photons.
Yeah.
So that can, I got to the point where it's like, if the slightest, there can be a light on outside, and it can be creeping in through the windows, and I've got, it'll mess me up. So I've had to, I've got blackout blinds on my window. I sleep in total darkness, and I sleep like very, very, I sleep properly now. And I didn't realize how I had been sleeping improperly for so many years.
Sure. All right, let's take a call. One moment, please. And if you're on the line, we will get to you. So stick in there. Hello, caller. You're on Low Value Mail. Who am I speaking with?
How's it going, Danny? This is Dash.
Dash, what's up, man?
Coronation Walk. Not a whole lot. How are you doing?
I'm very well.
So I've been following the conversation. Man, I was just having a talk with a friend today more about counterculture. Your guest is a musician. So first of all, I want to say, what you and Ryan are doing, like, that is kind of on the forefront of what I would consider a somewhat countercultural movement.
Sure.
Even though it's not music per se. But
yeah.
Ryan comes from a musical background. And I got to say, it's like, in terms of, people talk about mental health and all this shit these days, but I tend to just think simply about how people listen to music and consume media. It's all fucking consumption in some way, right?
Yep.
So when it comes down to our diet, I think it includes a lot more than just what we're taking into our body. And let's see. I mean, I'm very tempted to go into this extended metaphor about vibration and sympathetic resonance. But
oh my gosh, man, that's a passion topic. Do it.
Okay, sympathetic resonance, I think, is a concept a lot of people will hear and be like, oh, it sounds like the most obscure occult thing possible, but it's really just a matter of one thing resonating and other things responding in kind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with comedy, you bring up premises that are resonant with at least a certain amount of the audience on any given night.
Yeah.
That literally resonates through in terms of laughter. That it creates a feedback loop back to the creator, who is like, all right, I'm going to expand my scope here and see how far I can push that while still keeping their resonance, or that this idea that there's not really an audience.
It's basically like an energy almost kind of thing. I mean, I will say that it is a real thing in comedy, like at shows where like you'll get into a room and there's just like a weird energy, and then everybody's just like bombs no matter what. You have the fucking best comedian in the world, best comedian in New York City, and you're like, this room has this weird energy in it, nobody can kind of break it, and everybody just eats
it's short circuit.
Yeah,
it's like a short circuit. And so I think that same phenomenon must be true on every scale in some way. I know I sound pretty oblique. I don't want to take up all your time.
No. I mean, John seems to be agreeing with you on this one. So.
Oh, wholeheartedly.
Okay.
I mean, literally just, and it's what the topic, just the topic of vibration and resonance. I mean, it literally applies to everything,
right?
And you can even I mean, I love the analogy between entertainer and audience. I mean, as someone who has, I've been very, very blessed to have had the experience to stand on a stage with a musical instrument in my hand and play music and have a full range of reaction to that, and it's a loop. It's an energetic feedback loop, and if it's good, it's good, it's amazing. If it's bad, it's really bad. And so even things like diet, and I love what you said, that diet isn't just what you're putting in your mouth. It's all, like, I don't watch or listen to things that don't resonate with me anymore, and
it creates a certain dissonance.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with the whole 440 tuning, and
sure, it's a standard guitar tuner,
and they intentionally changed it.
Yeah, look up Kymatics for anybody who's wondering. Like, Kymatics, I think, gives a pretty good idea of why certain tunings might be a better idea objectively. But I get it. From the same friend I was just talking to, get plenty of discussions about these things, about how objective is that resonance. But I'm like, the Chalandi plates and Kymatics, I think, give some idea that there's a symmetry to be had at different frequencies in a more pure or less pure.
Anybody that hasn't seen a Chladni plate, just go on your video platform of choice.
Is that the sand thing?
Well, it's it's a speaker to a piece of metal, and they put sand or whatever.
Put the sand on top of it, yeah.
And the different vibrations, it manipulates the matter into geometric shapes. And I mean, that right there proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that vibration affects physical matter. I mean, so if it can rearrange sand or salt on a metal plate coming through a speaker, imagine what that's doing on a molecular level.
Sure.
Or smaller.
Right. Well, and people also are mostly just considering the materialistic viewpoint, but when you extrapolate into the mental and, dare I say, the spiritual, I think it makes a lot more sense if you go deeper than just the materialistic. And I think in terms of social media, everyone talks shit about social media and why people love it, even though it's gotten only shittier and seems to rot people's brains. But creators seem to thrive. A certain type of creator seems to thrive in that environment. And like we were just talking about, that circuit that's created between the audience and the performer. But the narcissism seems to almost be the inverse of that. It's all about just feeding that ego.
Yeah,
and this concept of a person, but it's not really. They're almost like acting. They're posers. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but save us all sometimes. That they're posing as a person who is creative, but ultimately we have this rehashing of every decade that's come before us, all at the same time, in different ways. And it's a throwback of a remake, and it's like. I'm just curious, I guess, what both of your perspectives are on that, because, I mean,
in terms of the energy thing, there's so many people who just like, they just turn on, they get home and they turn on the Fox News or CNN or whatever, and it just literally raises their blood pressure. Like, that cannot be healthy. Like, they just are just basking in this negativity kind of nonstop, and then they must have some
people are
knock-on effects. I think intention has resonance to it. So if it's my intention to make you happy, you're gonna feel that. But if it's my intention to fuck with you and make you feel something negative, you're gonna feel that too. And I think there are people who I think that there are junkies. Not just with drugs or sex or whatever, there are energetic junkies as well. And I think that's why social media is so enthralling to some and so repulsive to others, is because social media is based, I mean, it only exists because of narcissism. I mean, when like 25 years ago or whatever, if I'd have knocked on any of your doors at 10 o'clock at night and you opened it up, and I was standing there with a picture of my dinner and going, dude, you got to see this dinner. I wanted to show you a picture of this dinner. You know, you'd shut the narcissistic cesspool that is social media is very attractive to those junkies who are addicted to narcissism. And that's why when you go on social media, it's mostly narcissistic people arguing with each other or trying to out narcissist each other, because in what other aspect of life do people sit there and go, watch me, read me, you know, pay attention to what I have to say? And that is social media.
Present company excluded.
Yeah, obviously we're not talking about me here. I have some great content.
But Dan, all kidding aside,
but it's part of my work.
Your intention is good.
My intention is good. Obviously.
I want to say Ryan and Danny, or people like you guys, are almost the opposite of the poison pill. And this is what I was talking to my friend about, is like, how do you make the opposite of a poison pill, where it's like, it looks dumb, like it almost serves that like simplistic need for like a quick laugh, but then it's like, I mean, you know, goddamn, I'm gonna forget your guys' biggest fucking skits. Woke and anti-woke.
You
know.
I mean, it has kind of like a point in it as well. It's kind of like a
but it wasn't. But it seems like 2/3 comedy, 1/3 a point.
Sure.
With you guys that way.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that makes it good is that there's a good point in it, and then the comedy kind of makes it palatable to get the point across, essentially.
Yeah. But you guys don't come across like a political.
Yeah, we're not like those like Bushwick comedians who are like kind of just preachy and.
You're not going for the clapter.
Yeah, we're not going for the clapter.
The death of everything. My whole point is that clapter is the death of comedy and music. And
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Okay, Dash, I gotta let you go. We got a lot of people waiting.
I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, man.
No, for sure. All right, you guys have a good night. Bye.
All right, Dash, everybody. All right, let's take another call here. One moment, please. If you're on the line, stay put. We will get to you. I promise. Next up, we got Conspiracy Extremist. What's up, man?
What's up? How's it going, Danny?
Very good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Hey, man, John, I'm digging everything you're saying. This is right up my alley.
Thank you.
I got a question for you here, but just to let you know. So you're talking about vaccines and viruses and stuff, and I got to say, you know, I just had about 4 years ago, my first 2 kids, I had the fully vaccinated, the whole schedule, whatever. Then my 2 younger kids that I had within the last 4 years, no vaccines at all. And I'll tell you what, man, you know, it's not really proof, but I do see a difference in a positive way tremendously in not vaccinating kids. And that's just my opinion.
What's no medical I'm sure anecdotally, but what do you see or notice differently?
So my son, so he's 2 now, but the way and we get it from like people all the time, like at church, they're like, oh my gosh, he's so smart. Like he knew his ABCs like super early. You know, he can do addition, and he just turned 2. There's all kinds of stuff. And, you know, that I don't know, compared to other kids, I'm just comparing to my older kids because it's the best way I can compare him to. But also you know, I have 2 older daughters and then my son, but, you know, you can chalk it up to him being a boy, but usually girls learn quicker. But anyways, my youngest daughter, I can tell emotionally, like she's smiling all the time, and she's not even 3 months old. And it just comparing that to my first 2 kids, I do feel, and my wife agrees with me, that he's showing these emotions and reactions a lot earlier than my older kids did. So that's
it's almost like they're developing. You're essentially saying they're developing a little quicker.
Yeah.
You know,
and not physically, but just mentally.
Yeah, not physically, but
you know, I want to say that the scenario that you just described, you know, comparing your own children who had 2 very different vaccination experiences. In my own life, I've got a half dozen people who have that exact same story. So that, I mean, it's definitely a pattern. And I don't think it's anecdotal. I think, I mean, it's, again, it kind of goes back to something that I said earlier. You cannot be deficient. The human body cannot be deficient in something artificial. And everything that the schedule of jabs that go into these newborn or fairly newborn babies it's all artificial. None of that is natural stuff. The schedule and it's certainly the stuff that they're deficient in.
Yeah, and it's insane how many different shots immediately they want to put into a brand new vulnerable human. And just, I don't necessarily have regrets or feel bad that, with my older two kids, I mean, thankfully they weren't injured, and obviously injured, but, I do have my own experience that to me, I fully believe that these are not only unnecessary, but they have negative, impacts on humans, and we just don't need to do that.
Yeah,
agreed.
So
yeah.
All right, so that's one thing because you did bring that
and
up.
Do you get a lot of shit from your family for not vaccinating the newest ones?
Yes, both my parents are like libtards, and but it is what it is. It's my kids, so tough luck. They're gonna love their grandkids regardless. But yeah.
I mean, my brother was kind of the same thing. My brother's like he's he's more like a Burning Man kind of hippie kind of dude. But him and his wife just like wouldn't vaccinate their kid, and the family had a lot to say about that.
Yep. They when people are just it's hard if they don't see through the propaganda and shit. I get why they just don't get it. It was like, no, why would they do that? Why would they give us something we don't need? But yeah. But I don't care. I'm going to do what's best for my kids so they can suck it. But I wanted to ask, John, so you mentioned food and stuff. So about 4 years ago, the whole COVID thing, that's when I woke up, and I kind of saw the money we're spending and how the price, like food pricing was going to be impacted. And that's why I started building a garden. And it started with 3 like 6-foot raised beds, and now I've got 15. But after growing my own food, and it's a lot easier than I thought. When you look at like what you get from the store compared to what you pull, like first of all, the stuff's a lot smaller, but boy, it tastes a whole lot better. So I've got tons of stuff I grow now. My kids can just go outside, pick a tomato out off the tomato tree when they're ripe, and bite into it like an apple. And originally I did it to save money, but I mean, I can't. It's crazy that we eat all this processed garbage. And what you're talking about with why do we put stuff in our body that we shouldn't have? I mean, that completely resonates with me.
Yeah. I mean, they put it everywhere. Like, in the 50s, there was no, if you wanted to get some sort of junk food, it's like you had to make it versus just walking outside and buying it.
It would be my hope that someday it will be completely normal for the masses. It's not this way now, but we're definitely moving in the right direction, that someday everybody walks into a grocery store or a Walmart or something like that and is absolutely like deeply offended by what is in front of them. I mean, I walk into grocery stores now and it's just sugar and inks and empty carbs and crappy salts. It's like food porn. And it's just everywhere, shelves of it, displays of it, all in your face. And I wish the people who are as offended with, actual, sexual porn, or even worse, offended by, Team Red or Team Blue or whatever dumbassery is going on in that weird religious cult, to be as offended as they are by Trump or Harris or be that offended by what's in your stores. Look at the shelves. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I can't even eat regular store bread. And my wife started making that bread from scratch, and it's so much better. I just can't eat anything from the store now. It's crazy.
And like you say, it's easier than most people think. It's not as daunting a task as most people would think. and it's
Yeah.
actually quite rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, definitely to grow
100%.
something or make something is definitely just in and of itself.
It's pretty rewarding too to make the, I certainly don't, raise my own cows, but the individuals that I buy my cows from have not, they're not only friends, but they're like family now. And I mean, these are deep relationships. These are the people that are growing the food that nourishes my family. And so, like I said, it's not an empty relationship. Like going to the store, if you go to the store and plop down some money and buy some bacon, it's really not, I mean, it's kind of a one and done relationship. But like when I eat bacon, that bacon's coming from, my dear friend Harry and his wife Meg, who have a beautiful farm 10 minutes from my house. And that pig, I knew, I saw that pig alive, and I know how that pig was cared for and loved. I know the life that it led, and I can enjoy that bacon going, it's clean bacon. And much like you said, your wife's bread is like way more delicious than anything you're going to find off the shelf. I feel the same way about the meat that I eat, or the the produce that I put in my body. And it's rewarding.
That might be one of the few positive things about COVID is actually just people making bread now.
I think there's a lot of positive things about COVID, because you got to see with your own eye the teams everybody was on.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. So I promise I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know you got a lot of people, but so if you have experience in, it sounds like you have some sort of farm. When it comes to gardening, the first part is, do you have any opinion on electro-culture? The two is, what would you recommend for fertilization? I fertilize a little bit, but I'd be curious to know what your process or recommendation is.
Okay. First of all, I am a regular purchaser of hundreds and hundreds of feet of 10 gauge copper wire, and there are coils all over my, in fact, I kind of look at like any potted plant is kind of like a caged bird to me. So I will ground my potted plants, like I'll run a ground wire from the pot to the ground, just because, again, I don't think enough people realize when a plant is rooting, it's looking for the ground. It's literally grounding itself. And so, a plant in a pot, those roots will keep going until they find the earth. And that plant's goal is to find, it's to connect to source. And that's why roots will keep going until you put them in the ground, and at some point they will stop. But no, I'm all about electro-culture.
What is electro-culture? Just basically grounding.
So it's a lot deeper than I'm going to explain it, but for the sake of time, copper is obviously a crazy conductive metal, and it's a natural metal. And there have been people experimenting with doing copper coils and sticking the coils into the ground. And some people will there's debate about if you wind it clockwise or counterclockwise, which is better. Personally, I've tried both, and I do think clockwise has a dramatic effect. But yeah, it's basically taking the ions and the ionic energy that is out of the atmosphere, and it's drawing it into the ground so that the plants can benefit from that.
And what did you notice, especially between clockwise and counterclockwise? Like the food tastes better? It's
no, I think the clockwise. So again, there's debate on this. So don't take my word for it. This is just my experience. Clockwise, it's all about flow. It's all about energy flow. Clockwise is taking the energy from the atmosphere and driving it into the ground. And counterclockwise is taking the energy out of the ground and shooting it up to the atmosphere. And so in one way, you're robbing the soil of energy, and the other way, you're actually adding energy to the soil. Gotcha. And so what I have noticed is, I've done a couple seasons now of side-by-side comparisons of like different plants and see which ones respond better. But yeah, the clockwise coil will easily, dare I say, doubles the growth of the plant, the growth time and the growth spurts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. That's been, I've got like a rig set up. It was hard for me to find details, so I similarly did both clockwise and counter, and I've got them wrapped around sticks, and in my garden, tons of copper. And I'll tell you what, I live in Arizona. This is the first year since I have electro-culture that my pepper plant survived the hottest days of the summer. So
where
I
at,
don't know what it
where
is,
at
but
Arizona are you?
outside of Phoenix.
Yeah,
I
grew up in Tempe.
Oh, right on. All right.
Based on McClintock.
I don't. Okay, I know. Yeah, I know exactly where that is. That's well, I'm not going to say where exactly we live because I say a lot of offensive stuff on my podcast. So,
yeah, it's not.
But yeah, I know exactly where that is. Not too far.
Yeah,
Cool.
right on.
So,
all right, man. I gotta let you go. We gotta take some calls, but thanks.
all right. Thanks. Bye.
There. Very cool stuff. I never heard about this electro-culture stuff. All right, let's take another call here. We have got, I don't know, but we're going to find out momentarily. Hold on here.
Hey, real quick, a couple callers ago, it kept referencing a Ryan. Is that Slav, Ryan?
No, Ryan Long.
Okay.
Him and I make comedy videos and do
Okay.
podcasts together. If you're on hold, make sure I have to unmute you. Make sure to hit the unmute button because I'm trying to unmute somebody and they're not doing it. All right, let's try somebody else here. Well, this person figures it out. Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, man?
What's going on? I'm eating healthy right now too.
What are you eating?
What is it? A bunch of chuck steaks, some leftover tilapia, some chorizo-filled jalapenos, and
a lot of protein.
Yeah.
That's
and
good.
just some fiber from tomatillos and tomatillos and jalapenos. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. But what is it? Y'all were mentioning something earlier. Y'all talking about how I shop is literally just raw, like veggies or meat, no processed stuff. Like
what is
I don't
raw?
really-
What did you say there?
all I do when I do shop is just like
when you shop,
raw produce. Yeah, just raw produce, raw meat. I guess the most processed stuff I buy is probably corn tortillas, however they pasteurize this milk, and I do all that because I just drink heavily, so
Sure.
I guess that's also processed.
Yeah.
But what is
I mean,
it?
to some degree, everybody knows that like super processed stuff is bad for you. You just kind of go, this is one of the bad things I'm doing.
I always seen what it is. It is convenience because the one way I really snapped myself out of it was if I can't wait at a minute, anywhere between like 10 to 15 to 20 minutes or even 25 minutes to prep food, cook it, plate it up, let it cool down and clean up, then I shouldn't eat. And that's how like I cut out snacks. So that's just
it's probably a pretty good
my
rule.
recommendation.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
rule.
but what is it? I remember in the early 2000s, there would always show in movies and on television shows, it would be like, some mom pushing a cart and she's like always like grabbing a product and checking the back of the label. And everyone around her was looking at her like, come on, lady, you're taking up everyone's time and space. I think they're like, don't you think they've been trying to like socially engineer people to be like
to not care?
Convenience, to just not care.
I mean, people are by nature, I think, kind of like lazy. Like, if you think of it, not even lazy, but like if you think of it from like a hunter-gatherer standpoint, it's like generally when you're not hunting, like you're doing nothing, right? So then anytime you give someone kind of this outlet to just do the least amount of energy burning possible, some people just kind of gravitate towards that, even if it becomes in their worst interest.
I do think though, you had made the point about, the social engineering of, kind of media, the stuff people are seeing on their screens, commercials and all. I do think that the whole narrative, the whole concept of convenience, is a huge it's a huge tool in the tool belt of those who are trying to control you, because convenience mostly appeals to our lazy side.
Is there a Greek god that is named, that the word convenience is named after? Because it seems like, because everything in life is entropy, there's a payoff for everything. Nothing comes free or without a trade-off.
But part of me thinks it's just this country is just doing so well economically across the board, even if you're like, even if you're on the lower rungs, like comparatively, they're doing so well. Like, I still feel like it's more that the demand is just there and people are, just being like, yeah, if we open another, like, in New York City, there's a bodega every 20 feet and, they all have business. So, and I mean, this city is maybe the laziest city I've ever lived in, because people will go order something on DoorDash when they can literally walk 5 minutes and pick it up, and they will still get someone to deliver it to their door.
So certainly we've all seen the movie Idiocracy, Mike Judd's,
of course,
Idiocracy movie. It's interesting how, I know it was intended as a comedy, and maybe, he had some underlying serious social statement he was trying to make, but that movie.
Wait, this is a Hollywood film? Wait, the Idiocracy, a film from Hollywood.
Correct.
That predicts the future. We all know who controls Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that movie was meant as a comedy, but it really was more of a documentary, because we're not that far. I say we. I think there is a third of the. I look at the human population in terms of thirds. There's a third that's never going to do what they're told. There's another third that's going to do what they're told every time, and then there's a middle third that is malleable and could go either way. You tell.
That's what it's actually the fraction of that is way off. I don't know if you're familiar with these fellows, but they're called the Black Israelites, and there's like the 5%ers.
Oh yeah,
they're the ones who know. Yeah.
Yeah, Slav, by the way, Mark the producer says that the Greek god of convenience is Ceres, Caerus. The Greek god of convenience or opportunity. So there you go.
Well, he's a Greek god, so he probably raped a bitch or two. But go on.
I love. Is it producer Mark? Is that his name?
Yes.
Thanks for looking that up, Mark. Because I love that convenience is actually another way of saying opportunity. And so let me use this analogy. Let's say you're in a committed relationship, right? And you take you're in a committed relationship, and you're out with your buddies some night, and your significant other isn't with you, and an opportunity arises for you to maybe have some sex. Well, it sure would be convenient. That opportunity would be convenient if you're wanting sex and sex is staring you in the face. It would be convenient to take that opportunity. But if you took that convenient opportunity, it's going to have some bad ramifications. It's not going to be healthy for your situation. So I think we've been engineered and manipulated to think that convenience is good.
Right.
And convenience is kind of agnostic. It's not good or bad.
It just is.
But we are lazy. And so we're always, but we're lazy by nature, and we are selfish by nature. And so we're always most people are going to take that opportunity, that convenience, and have that sex and suffer the bad consequences that it's going to have on their relationship. And I think that people treat their entire lives that way. They're constantly, they may not be constantly cheating on their spouse, but they're cheating themselves, they're cheating their health, they're cheating their stability, they're cheating their finances, all in the name of convenience. I mean, look at the money we spend on convenience. I mean, I was just having this conversation the other night.
It makes sense because it is convenience basically artificially inflates the outcome and reward for a lazy amount of input. Like if you put in a good amount, that's
normally you would have had to do for that convenience, for whatever you get from that convenience, you would have to do a ton of work, like not that long ago.
Yeah.
And now you just probably, you can work a few hours or 2 hours or 1 hour at your job and just make the money required to do that. All right, Slav, I gotta let you go, man. Thanks, dude.
And then what is what is it? The one question about the health industry was, what do you like? When did they stop taking the Hippocratic Oath seriously? To the point where like newborns get hepatitis C injections, which are only meant for like drug addicts and prostitutes, and to the point where like people will be cured of cancer, but they will die from the debt of paying for cancer treatment.
Only in this country.
Yeah, when did it?
But yeah. All right, thanks, Slav.
Yeah, I'll say this.
Just answer that.
The oaths tend to be things that you use in the practice of religion. Outside of religion, another word for an oath would be a promise. But usually an oath is a formal thing inside of a religious structure. And that particular religious structure and that particular oath, look at the symbolism. Look at the you literally got, depending upon whether it's a caduceus or the other staff, but you've got serpents wrapped around a staff. That I don't know that I want. I don't want my promises coming from an organization that has that as their symbolism. It was never. I firmly believe it was never the intention of the allopathic medical movement to do anything but damage. It was always the objective. It was never to help, because they went to great lengths to eliminate and memory hole all of the natural, proven for hundreds and sometimes thousands of years, health and wellness knowledge, like traditional Chinese medicine or any of the holistic approaches. They went to great lengths to like I said, to squash that, memory hole it, turn the narrative towards that as quackery or some sort of whack. So I don't think it was ever the intention of the medical industrial complex to be positive and help. It was always the intention to damage.
Okay, let's take another call here. We got Rafe.
And real quick,
go ahead.
I want to clarify, that doesn't mean I know there are very good, well-meaning people that work in that industry.
Sorry, say that again?
I know that there are very good, well-meaning people that work in the medical industry, so I don't mean to. I'm not. Is
not a blanket statement.
Yeah, it's not. I don't mean to insult them. I'm talking about the industry that they work in. There are good people that work in some pretty shitty industries.
Sure. Okay, let's get to Rafe here. I don't know what that noise was with him. He might be driving. Rafe, you there?
Yo. What's up, guys?
Yo.
So in the very beginning, you briefly talked about.
Hey, Rafe. Take the phone away from you. You sound super loud.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Earlier in the show, you talked about the like your music history and the like how it kind of like relates to the medical industry. My dad was a musician and my mom was a nurse. So like when I was growing up, I was more exposed to the nurse side, and I watched her get sick and have cancer and 5 hip replacements and shit. And, she was on 47 drugs at one point in time, 47 pills a day or something like that. And, this was like one of their own kind of thing. And, like one of the guys messed up on one of their operations, but she didn't want to sue him because they were friends. And it was just a huge shit show. And then, I started learning a lot about, there's all these like people in the higher ups that are like, haven't really practiced actual medicine in like recent years. That kind of just have admin jobs like a CEO or whatever. and they're not really like, you know, in the thick of it, in the weeds of it. And I feel like that's, I just, you know, spent a bunch of time with like the head, you know, like radio program manager at a Sirius channel and whatnot. And, you know, he's literally telling me, like, man, I don't do a whole lot. I just, you know, pick one or two people, say yes or no to a couple songs a month. Like, you know, I'm not really doing a whole lot. I don't really know what I do, but I get paid a shitload, you know.
Sure. I mean, that's probably a lot of people.
That's kind of similar. Yeah. Yeah. Like, they're not really doing anything, and I feel like this is obviously like, you know, across all boards, but I feel like a lot of people don't realize that that's happening in the medical industry where the product or the service is, you know, saving human lives. And they're just like all for profit. Would you agree with that sentiment at all?
Yeah, I definitely agree that the goal is to not save human lives. No, I don't think that's their intention at all. I do think that might be the intention of some individuals that work within that system, but that system's not going to allow in mass lives to be saved. See our last 4 years for most recent example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really sorry to hear about your mom, man. That pains me to hear. I watched a very similar situation happen, and the amount of pills that some people are swallowing on a daily basis is just truly astounding. No good can come of that.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, she had like built up to it. You know, she was on so many. She had, you know, 5 hip replacements, so she's going to be on some pain pills. I'll give her that. But I think she prescribed Dilaudid, and I remember I was like 16. It was like a Saturday morning. She was like nodding out on the couch, and me and my dad just looked at each other like, we gotta fucking do something. This isn't right.
Yeah.
So eventually, you know, she got through the last hip surgery, and then she got diagnosed with cancer like pretty quick after that. And she was like, I don't want to do I'm gonna do like chemo for a little bit, but I want to try Rick Simpson oil. So I was like in charge. I was like 18, in charge of buying my mom a shit ton of Rick Simpson oil.
That's working
pretty well.
It's like a weed tincture kind of thing.
Yeah, no. I'm a huge supporter of Rick Simpson oil. In fact, that's the one thing that is the one thing that helps my wife make it through the day is Rick Simpson oil. And Rick, it's really just straight cannabis oil, Danny. Yeah. It's Rick Simpson was a very important individual, and you should definitely go look into his story. But it was because of him that we now understand that high doses of straight cannabis oil can do some pretty miraculous things to the body. And a lot of people don't even have their cannabinoid systems activated because they've, you know, all of that. We used to have, you know, cows would eat natural stuff and they'd be eating the cannabis, you know, plant, and then we would eat the meat. And there used to be the ability to activate our cannabinoid systems just via our diet, but that's all been taken out. So the only way your cannabinoid system is going to get activated is to start using cannabinoid, natural cannabinoid material, and Rick Simpson oil is just is astounding stuff.
Man, I'd like to eat that steak, like a weed pastured steak.
Dude, you put some weed butter on a steak. It's not bad. It's a good time.
No, I want the cows to eat it.
Yeah. Gives a whole new meaning to grass-fed beef, huh?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Rafe, I gotta let you go, man.
All right,
thanks, sir.
Peace, sir.
Rafe, everybody. All right, let's take another call here. Thanks again, John, for coming on.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
It's great.
Yeah, it's been a certainly interesting episode. We got up next. Oh, I think we just lost somebody. Okay, let's try Greg. Hello.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's up? Who are we speaking with?
This is Todd from California.
Todd from California. What's up, man?
Yep. I chimed in like halfway through the show and stuff. You guys talking about like COVID and stuff. My mom and stuff, dude, she got the original vaccine, like 4 fucking boosters and stuff like that. And she has like breathing complications, really heavy right now. And
what are the complications like? I mean, as far as I understand. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, she's like a horse cough, dude. Like she's constantly coughing, mostly in the morning time. Then like after she does like her breathing medications, she's on like 5 meds right now and shit like that. And what she does in the morning kind of gets them kind of kicking and going. She coughs less, but like dude, like throughout the night and like in the morning time heavily, she's like this coughing where it's like I want to drag her to the hospital, but I can't drag her to the hospital. You know what I mean?
She doesn't want to go.
Yeah, she just went to the ER. She just got out of the ER after like 4 days. I had to keep kind of like poking at her and stuff like that, but her breathing was just like difficult.
Yeah. And now, will they ever say at the ER that it's related to that, or do they come up with something else?
Interesting question. The thing that I told her not to do was tell them it was COVID related. Now she's having like, trouble getting into her primary care physician and stuff like that. Because she said she had COVID, they want to kick her out and not let her go in there and stuff. She went to the ER and stuff. They kept her for like 4 or 5 days. So I know like I'm not crazy. She definitely has like breathing issues and stuff like that. And like I guess like her blood oxygen levels are fucked up. But like the point I called about was she took all these COVID vaccines and stuff like that. I kept telling her not to. I kept telling her it doesn't work, and like she's having breathing difficulties. She can't smell. She hasn't been able to smell for like 2 years. That's weird too.
John?
Yeah, have as far as the respiratory issues, are you familiar with mullein, the plant mullein?
No.
Mullien?
Let me write it down. Mullein, what's that do?
Definitely look into it. It is it grows damn near everywhere. Once you see if you do an image search for a mullein plant and you've seen them on the side of the road a million times, that plant is a miracle plant as far as aiding with respiratory scenarios. Believe it or not, one of the most effective ways to use mullein, it can be used as there's tinctures, there's syrups, there's lots of, this sounds counterintuitive, but smoking dried mullein leaves brings instant relief to the vast majority of the people that try this for respiratory issues. But definitely look into mullein. My youngest son is a pretty athletic soccer fan. He soccer's his world, and obviously respiratory, he needs to be able to breathe and all. And when he has had any sort of respiratory issues in the past, we have a mullein tincture that he takes. And
is it really almost like for asthma relief, essentially, in his case?
Well, asthma. We could spend the next hour just talking about diagnosis and these names that they give these things. Like
or just like he has some sort of breathing narrowing.
Just when you start to quote unquote get sick, one of the first things you experience is chest or nasal congestion and throat and that whole stuff. Mullein will aid and clear that kind of stuff up like instantly. Especially, it sounds counterintuitive, but especially if it's smoked.
She's had like complications where like she's producing a lot of like phlegm, and like I all I can do is tell her to drink water, spit the phlegm out and stuff like that. But like she has like congestion essentially.
Todd, this is going to sound like a marketing pitch, and it's not, because I don't want to sell you anything. I don't even want to get your email.
Cool, dude, you're cool.
What's that?
Yeah, dude, you're fine. Go ahead.
But if you go to Naturally Better For You, and that's the number 4 you, and you can spell you however you want. I bought all the domains, but that's a bit of a splash page into my world, and my partner, who is my wife's doctor, Dr. Jeremy Ayres. He's over in the UK. But if you go to that domain, scroll down, there's a couple of free downloads there that, again, you don't even have to put in your email or nothing. Just download it and be done with it. But one of those downloads is called Have You Been Shot? And it's the post-vaccination detox protocol. And there's some really great information in there that might be very, very relevant to your mom and might be very helpful. So it's worth a look. just download it. Like I said, just download it, take a look at it, and if anything in there resonates with you, it's helped a lot of people. And I can't stress enough about the Mullein plant. Like, look into Mullein and
I wrote down Mullein, wrote down natural for you, and then have you been shot? I wrote all down this now and check that one.
naturallybetterforyou.com.
Yeah. Check it out. Hopefully it'll help your mom out. That'd be great.
All right. Hey, thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, man.
You too. Thanks.
Have a good one.
All right,
bye. All right. All right. Let's take. We got 2 more calls. Thank you very, very much, everybody, for tuning in. I know this guy coming up, the one and only Rube Star, regular caller. Rube.
Danny, I got a bunch of questions I'm going to ask him.
Go ahead,
quick.
man. No,
John,
we got time. We got time.
Hey, what's going on, Ruben?
John, do you have any insight into warts?
Warts? Like skin warts?
Yeah, I got one on my foot and one on my finger.
I mean,
and I'm with you on terrain theory. I follow Dr. Thomas Cowan, if you know who that is. So I'm way down with all that.
Yeah. Warts now don't claim to have much, if any, experience with that, but I can tell you that, at its rawest, a wart is just a tumor, and a tumor is just the body going, hey, there's this foreign thing that shouldn't be there, so we're going to surround it and close it off so that it can't infect the rest of the body. And so, obviously it's an external tumor. Short of, I would, if it was a chronic thing and there's a bunch of them, then I would look into, what could possibly be the source of the toxicity. What is the, because if you have more than one wart.
Well, I'll tell you the source of that toxicity was a redheaded stripper, but that's besides the point. I got rid of most of them.
But there you go. Oh, those kind of warts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with Rube, I didn't know what kind of warts he was referencing.
Well, those are gone, but I got one on the bottom of my foot and one on my finger, and you're right on the money. There's like a callus builds around it. It's like the body is surrounding it, like you said, to not infect the rest of the something else or whatever. Okay, so it's a tumor.
Yeah, and so to follow that logic out, if the body is smart enough to surround it and go, hey, this we can't let this fuck up the rest of the body, then it would stand to reason then you're not going to be losing anything if you lose that wart, which is why I think even in the pre-allopathic Rockefeller medicine days, people have been lancing warts off for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So that might be the body's already decided that you don't need it, so get rid of it.
Okay, next question. Are you familiar with amino acids at all?
A little bit.
Okay. And do you get into blood type?
Not so much, no.
There's a book called Eat Right for Your Blood Type, and just as a quick example is, so I'm A negative, and the book tells me I have the weakest stomach acid. I'm supposed to be a plant eater. I can't digest big meats. And, I work in a restaurant, and the one place I worked, we cooked the fries in lard, and now they're delicious, but then my ankle swelled up. I had terrible arthritis in my ankle, and I'd be limping all the time. I read this book. I shouldn't eat potatoes or pig's lard. I eliminated it from my diet, and it went away. So it was just amazing to me how everything you eat has a consequence in your body.
Yeah, and everybody's different,
Yeah.
And so you reacted so directly to lard. I wonder how you would react to tallow, to lard being pig, tallow being beef.
Beef's not as detrimental to my body, but I do if I just eat celery, it's amazing the boost I get out of just. My body is designed to work off of plant proteins, whereas Danny's an O blood type, which is a heavy meat eater. If he were to become a vegan, it would probably kill him.
Yeah, and you but don't ever forget that the human brain is composed of two things: animal fat and cholesterol. So you gotta get healthy animal fat in you somehow.
Right. Yeah, there is fat. Yeah, recommended for me.
Yeah. And that's why
you always get fish oil supplements or something.
Sardines are like a superfood for me.
Oh, I love a little known fact about me. I love eating a can of sardines.
I mean this with the best of intentions and a little bit of humor, but you'll notice that it is not uncommon to, when you encounter vegans, it's not uncommon to
be annoyed by them.
Angry or really edgy, almost anxious vegans. And again, meant with humor and love, but the reason that is because if you are leading a fully vegan lifestyle, you are starving the human brain. You are literally starving the human brain. It's not getting the things that it needs, the two things, cholesterol and animal fat. So that's why, again, when you see people who've been vegan, and it's not everyone, but the vast majority of people who have been vegan a long time tend to be a little edgier and
insufferable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're starving their brain.
Sure. Can you get cholesterol from nuts?
You're not going to get the
liver,
the kind of cholesterol that your brain needs.
Yeah, not that kind.
Yeah.
Doesn't your liver make the cholesterol?
The cholesterol comes. Yeah, I mean, it processes the cholesterol, but cholesterol comes from the meat.
Yeah, it's from fats.
You'll have to forgive me. I'm curious to know your birthday if that's not too personal.
No, it's November 4th.
Oh, wow. That's awesome, dude.
He's a big birthday
That's
guy.
awesome. Danny, me and this guy will agree on everything. I'll just let you know ahead of time.
Cool. You don't even need the year?
Well, I mean, I'll take the year.
Just for reference, for reference, John.
1965.
Yeah, on our other show, The Bathhouse, Rube calls in and he gives everybody an astrology reading every week.
Yeah, 1965, November 4th, 1965.
Okay, November. All right. Yeah, just a quick reading on him. Is the second week of Scorpio, the week of death. They take everything very, very seriously. They go very deep with a lot of things. Do you get into ozone or hydrogen water?
I have respect for it, and I have seen both work wonders on others. I've just never needed to have that be something that I messed with. I don't know if you heard earlier in the conversation, but I'm one of my biggest passions in life is water. So I'm a very big advocate of distilled water, and so I feel like I take my water pretty seriously, and I do different things with my water energetically, as far as, I don't know if you're familiar with shungite, but I use a lot of shungite in my water just for, to spin it naturally as it would exist in nature. But no, I've watched other people be helped a great deal by those two avenues. But no, I personally have never had a need to do it myself.
Okay, personal testimony for me, it's great. Are you familiar with the X39 LifeWave patch?
Oh yeah, no. As a matter of, that's very, very strange that you brought that up, because it was not even 2 weeks ago. A dear friend of mine encountered that very product and has just been blown away by what it has been doing.
What is it exactly?
Go ahead and explain.
Let's hear it, Rube.
Yeah.
Okay, so David Schmidt is working for the Navy building air tanks or something, and he notices that all the submarine divers or drivers, whatever, are on amphetamines, cocaine, or something to keep them awake. And he goes, wouldn't it be great if we found a natural way to keep people awake? And after years of research, he came to this product where the body, and probably any living body, because it works on pets too, your body gives off a dim light. These patches are made out of, there's like sugar or crystals or salts inside of it that he makes in Ireland, and you wear them for 12 hours a day. In fact, Danny, I was gonna send you a month's supply, but
what is it called?
I never got around to it. It's the X39 LifeWave patch. You put it on the back of your neck, like on your spine. You can put it anywhere on your body. And what it does is it tells your body to start making the GHK Copper Peptide, which I know nobody's ever heard of and nobody's familiar with it, but that's known as the emergency response peptide. I think the doctor was Lauren Picard, maybe in 1970 something. He was the first one to isolate the GHK copper peptide, put it in old liver cells, and they regenerated. They got younger. So when you wear this patch, and Olympic swimmer, I think his name's Michael Phelps, was wearing them when he won the gold medal. When you wear this patch, it tells your body to start making the GHK copper peptide, so you reverse aging, you get more energy, a bunch of amino acids start working, and it activates stem cell production. So wounds heal faster, you get more energy. It's an anti-inflammatory. A lot of people's brains are inflamed, and so it'll reduce the swelling in your brain, so you'll use both hemispheres of your brain evenly. So I've been on it for almost a year, and I sell them actually, but they're amazing, and I can't say enough good things about them. So if you get a chance, try one out just for fun.
Yeah, send me one
or whatever.
My friend, her exact words were, "This is the most amazing body hack I've ever experienced."
Whoa!
And Danny,
we're gonna get so many disclaimers under this episode.
Danny, sometimes I wear 2 or 3 of them, and it feels like I'm having an orgasm up and down my spine. It's amazing. The amount of amino acids. All right, I'll sell you some. That's all I got.
No, I'm saying you're selling me on the idea of it. But yeah, I'll do it. I'll buy some from you. Hit me up.
Well, you could. There's other ones you could get too. Like, since you like working out, there's the X49, which is for people who work out.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's a lot of athletes wear them. They're amazing. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, I want to let you get to the other callers. Thank you so much, John.
Thanks, Rube.
Oh, thank you, Ruben.
Bye, buddy.
And Ruben just gave me an idea for the best metal band name ever: Spinegasm.
All right, last call of the night. Let's see who this is. I don't know. But thank you again, John, for coming on. All right, last call of the night. Who am I speaking with? What's up?
Yo, it's me, Glock 'em down, Danny. Long time listener, third or fourth time caller.
Yeah, how's it going, man? Long time.
It's going good. Now, I'll admit, you have to bear with me. I was just throwing up tequila and pineapple in my kitchen garbage can. Not my proudest moment.
All right.
But
I mean, it's a Monday night.
Fuck yeah. So I was listening to your fine guest there, and at first I was against the guy, but then I realized that taking the position of anti-clean water, anti-healthy food is like taking the politician stance of the over-under on the fucking age of consent law. No matter how good your argument is, you're going to look like a retard.
Sure.
So all I can say is that while I agree with him on the idea that preserving the human body, the best way is to eat the most natural foods and intake the most natural nutrients that have been keeping humans running for a long time, I believe that this incessant focus of humans on preserving and prolonging the physical body's life is the number one thing that is limiting us from pushing to our true potential, which is to free the human mind from our physical boundaries. Because our emotional state is the thing that is demystifying and decentralizing our ability to move on and enlighten past the terrible limitations that we placed upon ourselves. Now, I'm not going to argue with the guy that you should drink healthy water. You should eat healthy food and shit. Absolutely. If your goal is to live an extra 20 years on this world, which I'm not going to argue with you metaphysically, nobody knows what happens after you die. So
I mean, quality of life is also a big factor as well.
Well, and I want to, first of all, I want to say I actually 110% agree with everything you just said. But I'd like to clarify, at least in my case, my focus isn't on prolonging my life. I'm not looking for the longest life possible. That's not even the goal at all. In my particular case, I'm a devout, agorist, anarchist, if you will. And my fight is I want to live the most natural life that the life I was naturally intended to lead. So my effort isn't to live longer. My effort is to fight against all of the toxins and manipulations and deceit. Again, the goal isn't to live as long as possible. The goal is to live as naturally and as healthy as possible. But I'm with you. So, I'm with you. Is once we're free of these, because I believe everything is energetic. Everything is energy, and I do agree with you. We are tethered to these physical bodies, and yeah, if we can get free of these and achieve our full conscious potential, I think that would please our Creator immensely. But there's so many freaking obstacles in our way. Like I said, so in my case, now there might be some people out there, I certainly know the fucking eugenicists out there want to live forever and play God. That's not my goal. My goal is to fight against the eugenicists and keep them from fucking with me and keeping me from living the most natural and healthy life I can lead.
Which is definitely a respectable goal that I for sure understand. And as someone who, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in anything, but being a fuck up, that's what I've been good at for the last 30 years. But as a guy who has looked into chaos theory, human behavioral biology, nonlinear equations, tried to figure out what philosophy, history, trying to piece together where exactly we're going with this, the only conclusion I've come to is that human beings' greatest limitation is our communication. It's a unfortunate fact that all we can do is try to explain complex, diametrically opposed explanations of who we truly are in our metaphysical state with grunts and groans and facial expressions. And that is the number one thing limiting us from our transcendence into an enlightened species that would actually protect our planet and actually grow beauty and peace and health, true health, not physical health, because physical health is impossible because every human body has an expiration date on it. You're dying every second that you're alive. Now I understand quality of life, but the mind has far more control over that than the physical body. I'm not at all in disagreement with you. All I could possibly say is that I feel like humans are wasting their time focusing on any aspect of bettering the quality of life here when they should be bettering the quality of their mind and their abilities to overcome the obstacles that we have largely set in place for ourselves. Our incessant desire to change our environment, to suit our survival needs, to pass on our Darwinian evolutionary abilities of passing on hereditary traits are the number one limitations that are stopping us from moving forward. And now I'm not saying I agree with Elon Musk or OpenAI or any of those situations, but it is interesting that when you look at the fact that humans are accelerating and rushing towards disconnecting their mind from their physical bodies, I'm not so sure that that's a bad thing. And I feel like perhaps every human would best be served focusing on that one point. Now, I understand truly, and I can fully sympathize with the human need to pass on its genetic material, which is, Darwin's theory. It's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the breeder. And that's fine. But whenever we look at survival of the breeder, we see that man falls to its basest nature, which is the greatest inhibition that would ever stand in our actual path. And, these thoughts are fascinating thoughts, and I don't know how we would put them into practice. It would all lead to something, I'm sure, destructive and unpleasant for most people. And I fully agree with you. Not only do I believe that humans have been tricked into their subservience to convenience, I believe that every war that America has fought over the last 70 years has been truly in the continuance of convenience, oil, precious resources, and an ability to continue quick serve culture, which is fine because humans, unfortunately, at their base nature, there are two survival instincts that I can find is the desire to breed and the desire to deceive. And deceiving is an amazing, complex survival mechanism that humans have to be able to integrate into human society. And while I can applaud that, or rather appreciate it for what it is, I feel like we do ourselves a great evil by focusing and applauding those tactics. And I'm not saying that that's what you're doing. In fact, you seem to be one of the few people talking against it.
John?
But what I would say is that, no, yeah, you can go ahead. Unfortunately, I could talk for 4 hours about this, but please go ahead any way you'd like to jump in.
No, I would again, I find it hard to disagree with any of what you just said. I would just add to it that from my perspective, I think it just adds to the point you were just making. Look at how many, if not all, of the toxins and toxic narratives and agendas are aimed at our mind. You know, our mind is being attacked. That's the whole fluoride in the water to decalcify the pineal gland. That's the spraying of aluminum, barium, and strontium above us. I mean, it's all toxicity that is ultimately keeping our mind, let alone our physical body, from reaching its full potential. And so I think that the intentional toxicity by the powers that shouldn't be, the various powers that shouldn't be, a huge part of the reason why those things are being done to the human race is to keep the human race from reaching its true potential, which is exactly what I think ultimately what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right, man. I gotta let you go because we gotta wrap this up. But
hell yeah, Danny. Appreciate it, bro.
Thanks, Dog. All right, I got a couple questions actually from the chat, and then we're gonna finish up here. This is actually kind of somewhat pertinent to me. I don't take these medications, but Sean from Pittsburgh asks, blood pressure meds, but seasonally. I imagine that from your standpoint, dealing with blood pressure would just be dietary.
Yeah. There's
which it is. It's like anybody who has high blood pressure, even though there's a genetic component, generally, like you can kind of just change your diet.
My brother got put on blood pressure medication a couple of years ago because he got caught up in the whole COVID narrative, and found himself in a hospital, which is one of the hospitals are got to be one of the least healthiest places that you could find yourself. You're under shitty light, drinking shitty water, eating shitty food, breathing shitty air, and being given God knows what intravenously, orally. Again, hospitals do exactly what they're intended to do. They end life a lot. The number one cause of death worldwide, year in, year out, hospitals. But he got put on blood pressure medication, and he has been incredibly unhealthy since.
The problem is with the blood pressure medication is it allows you to continue being unhealthy, because it does, you're whatever. If you take your blood pressure, you're like, oh, okay, this is normal. And then you're like, okay, I don't have to change anything.
The reason why you would have blood pressure issues is 100% due to inflammation. Think about water pressure. When the pipe is this big around and it gets caked full of garbage inside, and all of a sudden it's that big around, you're going to have some water pressure issues.
Sure.
So when the artery or the vein is supposed to be this big and it's inflamed and it's just swollen and now it's this big, you're going to have some pressure issues. So instead of taking blood pressure medication, I would want to know, well, what's causing the inflammation that is fucking with my blood pressure, and let's address that issue.
Yeah. All right. Last question. This is from Gimp Gladly. Are you familiar with the work of Jack Kruse?
Oh, yeah.
K-R-U-Z-E.
Oh, absolutely. Huge. Yeah. Huge. In fact, one of my co-authors on the book, that gentleman right there, Graham Norbury, he is a disciple of Jack's, and has learned underneath Jack, and he is actually through Jack and through Graham that I really gained an incredible insight into the topic of light. Jack Kruse touches on a lot more than just light, but as far as light and the light frequencies and the importance of light, the importance of healthy light frequencies and unhealthy light frequencies and the times of days and how it all ties together. Yeah, Jack Kruse is there's no other individual that I'm aware of that has the amount of knowledge that gentleman has.
Cool. I actually have one more question. This is one of mine, just because you're so into water. My brother used to tell me about this guy all the time. I don't know if you know him, Masaru Emoto. You know who that is?
Yeah,
the guy who does like
several of his picture books.
Yeah, he does like, for people who don't know, I remember my brother showed me this like a long time ago, but basically this guy like does like high resolution scans of like water crystals, and essentially like the stuff you say around water, like the intention around water essentially like changes how the crystals display.
Yeah, there's the Emoto experiment for those who may be in some of the Asian territories. The Emoto experiment is a pretty common thing that young school children do, and what they'll do is they'll take two containers that have water and rice in them, and identical containers, water, rice, mixture in both of them. And every day they'll put one over here and they'll put one over here. And every day they'll have the kids go over until they have the kids speak positive, just whatever. It could be silly stuff. Just look at the container of rice and say, I love you. You're awesome. You're beautiful, whatever, just positive stuff to it. And then they go over to the other one and they sit at that other one and they, you piece of shit, garbage. I hate you. Yeah. And every single time that one molds, the negative one starts to mold. And we talked about intention earlier. That Emoto experiment is such a, it's so basic, but it speaks to so many things that not just the health of our body, but the health of our mind, which a previous caller was bringing up, how energies, intentions, vibrations, it's all kind of the same thing, affect physical matter. So those intentions, those vibrations, those energies affected that physical matter, just like the intentions and the vibrations on that Chladni plate arranged those grains of sand in geometric shapes. And Emoto his what most people know him for, like you were mentioning, is he would photograph water molecules under all sorts of, frozen, unfrozen, heated up, just he did it, and he exposed it to different types of music. And it's crazy when you see a water molecule that has been exposed to, a certain piece by Beethoven versus water molecules that's been exposed to like Slipknot or Motorhead. And it's, I mean, you can see the chaos. Now I love me some Motorhead, so not knocking Motorhead,
sure,
but that is obviously much more chaotic a vibration set than Mozart would be or Beethoven would be. So you would expect that those molecules would be arranged in a chaotic way. And Emoto just became famous for, he photographed that, and it's there for everyone to see. And fabulous stuff. If nobody's checked out his work, it's all over online, and the books are great because I'm a big passionate believer in physical media. Anything digital isn't real. So if you got a book, get a physical book. They can't edit it, they can't take it back, they can't track that you're reading it. But I've got several of Emoto's picture books, and they're fascinating.
Very cool. All right, that has been the show. Thank you very much. What's the best place for people to find you?
naturallybetterforyou.com. That kind of is a hub for everything we're doing. There's some great free downloads there. We're not selling anything. We don't spam you. We don't even take your email address. You can download that shit for free and just no email required. If we do happen to sell a copy of the Redpill Revolution, then that's makes me very, very happy. It's an easy book to read. It's kind of a handbook to a field guide, if you will, to navigate in this crazy playing field that we all find ourselves on. And it's loaded with memes, and there's probably more memes in there than there are words, but it's a fun book to read. And if people get that book, it makes me happy. But the best thing, the biggest favor you could do for me is, if you get that book and you're done with it and you find it valuable, pass it on to somebody who would also find value, or who it would resonate with. Let's bring it back to the beginning of the show.
Sure.
If it resonated with you, pass it on to somebody else, because that's how we learn our way forward, man. We learn our way forward by sharing knowledge and having conversation like we're doing right now. And I'm a huge fan of the art of conversation. And Danny, I thank you for spending the time and effort and resources it takes to keep the art of conversation alive and well. Man,
appreciate it.
Because that's the day we stop talking, the day we stop asking questions, the day we stop being able to share ideas. And that's why maybe I'll end it with this as a fellow lover of stand-up comedy. I think comedy is the last bastion of truthful entertainment possibilities that we have, because I watched all, with very few exceptions. I was graduated high school in '83, so I'm a kid of the late '70s, early '80s. Huge punk rock fan. I've watched all my punk rock counterculture heroes in the last 4 years just flip and become government shilling slaves.
Yeah.
And
they took the bag.
I'm so disappointed in my peers. We all were born, we were born into a world that I've never lived a single day that I didn't know. I mean, I was born into the meme. We all were. Politicians and corporations are not our friends. They're opportunistic, profiteering entities. And we've always known politicians and corporations are not working in our best interest. This is nothing new. So the hardest thing about watching the whole events of 2020 forward roll out is watching. I'll give people under the age of 30 a break because they haven't lived through enough of these weird 2 to 4 year ceremonial cycles and watching the same promises, the same topics, the same the religion of statism is so fucking bizarre. And I've never seen a group of people be so shitty to each other and others than statists. And by statists, at least here in the States, I mean the Republicans and the Democrats. Yeah. I've never seen people be as bad to each other and others as those people have been. And I, like I said, I watched all my supposed counterculture punk rock heroes 4 years ago just flip and become just compliant slaves. And I think that was one of the big casualties of the COVID era, was the counterculture just turned into exactly who they said they weren't.
Yeah, that's well said. Good way to end it. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Catch a new episode of The Bathhouse tomorrow, and we'll be back with open lines next week on Labor Day. Thank you very much to John, and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
My shit heroic. Empathic abilities, yeah, my face be also stoic. Bleep, blow up, nigga, that just means I'm working. They see me as a leader, so that's why I'm Captain Kirkin. These tracks from the stars, that much is for certain. You can feel this hit if you up or if you hurt. I'm raising my stock, not talking my feet in some Birkin. Number Johnny 5, got a fucking short circuit. Bring the track to life when I spit phenomenal. When I hit, she feel that shit in her abdominals. These rappers make me laugh like comic view, they comical. You know I got a ball out, I hit the track running just like Sonic do. They don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, and they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, now we pulling up fresh on some flight shit. They don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. They don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, then they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn